Hello, everybody. It's been a little while since I've gone live. Hope everyone's doing okay, especially if you are in Melbourne, Victoria at the moment. It's been a bit of an intense few days, so I'm just waiting on Steph to come on and join us for this live. I'm excited for our chat together. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Great to see some faces, albeit through the names. I think Steph is just coming on to join us. Hopefully all things technology works in my favor. Usually it's not my strong point, so there we are. Hello.
Hello, how you going?
Hi. It's so nice to see your face.
So good to see yours too.
How are you doing?
Oh yeah, surviving.
It's so interesting even thinking about this chat. Like when I originally asked you, we were in the midst of lockdown number 6, and here we are with a whole other ball game on our hands. So I think the conversation will take a bit of a turn, but that's okay. I think it's needed today.
Yeah, definitely.
So, firstly, I just wanted to say a massive thank you for being here and being part of this Unplugged Live Series. And the mission or the aim, I guess, is to share some real and remarkable stories about people who have either made big changes in their lives or who incorporate various tools and practices to support their overall mental health and well-being. And I think it's more important than ever to be having these conversations. So, as always, I wanted to start off today by doing a bit of a check-in and just seeing where you're at. So, I mean, if we were to talk one being really, really crappy, awful, not in a good way, to 10 being on top of the world, amazing, where do you reckon you're sitting today?
I'd probably say about a 6. Yeah. I
Mm.
lately it's been below 5 for a while. I think I'm trending upwards, but yeah, definitely trying to take care of myself on a whole new level. And the recent news of the extended lockdown strangely didn't affect me all that much. I kind of knew it was coming.
Mm. Yeah, I feel it's kind of like a kick us while we're down type scenario,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, right, pull the socks up again, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess like on that level, how do you reckon you've been averaging over the last 18 months?
I think from last year, it was all new. So I had a lot of motivation and focus, and, I buried myself in pivoting in my business. And as much as lockdown was really hard, it was almost novel. Like I'm quite an introvert anyway, so staying, and I work from home. So, I mean, largely it didn't change my day to day, unlike except for when the kids weren't able to go to childcare. So yeah, I feel last year I was kind of on top of things, and this year, just with the stop start nature of these snap lockdowns that never are snap, they just extend. It's just been really tough on business, on life, and just feeling like I'm in limbo, which I'm
Yeah,
sure, is something that a lot of us are feeling.
yeah, totally. And I mean, it can resonate with that initial kind of burst of energy of like, okay, maybe there's some opportunity in this. And I think, being in the work that you do of wanting to help and do and give, it's kind of like, okay, how do I support people? What do I need to change in my business? There's a bit of kind of a surge of adrenaline almost, but then with that surge just keeps coming and we don't ever get that opportunity to come back to baseline. That's really when burnout kind of starts to hit. And what I'm hearing at the moment is everyone's just exhausted and our resource levels are drained to the max. But yeah.
Yeah, so
So
true.
I guess I'd love to dive in a little bit more, for those of the people who are joining who maybe don't know you so well. I'd love to, talk a little bit about you and who is Steph. What is it that you can tell us a bit about yourself, and if you were to describe yourself, you know, how would you describe yourself outside of the work for the moment? Just focusing on you.
I don't know, it's a really hard one because I feel like at the moment I'm kind of at this stage of figuring out who I am again. And, you know, maybe that's something that we do every couple of years as, you know, you grow and change. But I feel like I'm in this rediscovery period. So I guess long story short, I am a mum of two beautiful boys. I am a wife, business owner, a yogi, a total health nerd, and a bookworm in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah, I can attest to most of those. I reckon you're on point with that. Every time I seem to see you, you've got a book in your hand. So, yeah, that's definitely true. And I guess if you were to talk about your journey to this point, you know, even beyond the past 18 months, you know, what have been the most pivotal moments in your life that have got you to here?
I think starting from when I moved to Melbourne, which was, gosh, a lot of years ago now. Oops, sorry. Slight interruption because I've put limits on my social media time and it just came up.
I had to do that just before too. I was like, oh, damn you, mental health. I was like, I need to talk for longer than 45 minutes.
Terrible timing. Where were we? Yeah, so 2013, I think I moved to Melbourne and I just wanted a different life. I moved from Adelaide, I moved from nursing, and I wanted a bigger, just a life with more experience. So I went back into nursing, but I think the other pivotal stage was when I had kids, and I completely changed my career. I'd been nursing for, I don't know, 11 years or something, and studying and working, and I think I'd reached a burnout stage with that, and wanted to move into something that was way more aligned with how I felt about health and wellness instead of the medical model. So, and having kids allowed me to do that because I took some time off with maternity leave, and I was able to, I guess, reevaluate what was really important to me as well. So I think those two were the pivotal changes in, I don't know, moving my pathway to where I am now, because prior to moving to Melbourne, I was on a very different path. A very unhealthy and self-destructive path. So yeah, I think those are the two really important parts of how I managed to change.
And in terms of that, like, obviously there was an internal kind of journey going on there, but I'm sure being in the hospital too, that what you might have been seeing and feeling and sensing and hearing around you, like, did you feel that had a bit of an impact too on your decisions to change things up a little bit?
Yeah, just the view of, I guess, healthcare when you're working in it is I don't know, it's totally different, and there's always such a drain on resources, and it just this real kind of never enough, this real lack mentality in sick care, and I think that definitely started rubbing on me when I started changing my, you know, I guess changing what my values were, and it really started to feel, totally out of alignment with what I wanted. So that was a big part of it. And obviously, you know, the people I was surrounding myself with and the lifestyle I led back in Adelaide was, especially working in a really busy public hospital where it was kind of all consuming. You were always there, you're always working shift work. you know, the people you worked with were the people you played with, and it was a work hard, play hard, party hard kind of scenario, which is not healthcare.
No, no. It's
Not what we
interesting,
think
isn't
is
it?
anyway.
The way.
Say that again.
It's funny, isn't it, how that often seems to be the way, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a really stressful life. So without those healthier tools to kind of combat that stress, which is, you know, what I spent half of my 20s and 30s trying to find, you know, you go to the other side, which is relieving stress with alcohol and, you know, drugs and all those cruxes.
Yeah. Not an easy decision to make, you know, like in terms of that continuing on the trajectory often that we have started off with maybe uni and kind of sometimes have fallen into, to make that conscious decision to say like, hey, this way that I'm going about my life isn't really serving me at the moment and something needs to change here. Like, did you feel that was something that came easy as a decision for you, or did you find it was something that you really struggled with, or there was a bit of fear there, or, you know, how was that for you?
I'm a pretty all or nothing person. So when I made the decision, it was easy. I was sick of feeling the way I was feeling. And I think it coincided with a whole big change in the way I was eating, the way I was living, you know, moving towards a much healthier and cleaner lifestyle. I kind of gave up alcohol and my partying ways. And I think my husband had a lot to do with that. I met him shortly after I'd made this huge transition, and he very much encouraged that, which was really new and different for me. So yeah, I mean, I have him to thank for being my rock while I transitioned, you know, my whole life. But it was also easy because I didn't have all of my friends around me that were in Adelaide. So, you know, I kind of had already removed myself from the environment, which was not helping me so much. So it was almost like new city, new life. I kind of just started from scratch, and it was a really fun journey. And, you know, automatically I felt better, looking after myself, getting, you know, way more into exercise and this, you know, new way of eating that I discovered. And I really loved the way it made me feel. So that spurred me to keep going and dive deeper. And, you know, that's where.
And ultimately start a whole new business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe could you tell us a bit more? Obviously, I know a lot about what you do, and I'm a big fan of all the things that you offer out into this world, but would love to hear a bit more about, or share a bit more, I guess, about the work that you do these days.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. After I had my kids, and I'd been eating more plant-based for a couple of years, I was encouraged by my lovely husband Charlie to start teaching cooking classes, and I came from a bit of a teaching background in nursing, so I was okay, I can probably do that. And food has always been my passion from when I was young. We would always cook as a family, and my sisters and I just are food obsessed, and it just seemed like a natural transition to teach people my passion and this new way of eating, which back when I started was still a little under the radar. People didn't really know what plant-based even meant. So, you know, I was using the term vegan, but that was, I think, scaring a lot of people off because it was not very well spoken about or very well known, just, you know, the vegan lifestyle and the way of eating. So when that whole plant-based phrase came into being and people started picking up on it, and, you know, I think everyone's always known that more veggies is equals better health, but it was just kind of was jumping on that that movement of that plant-based eating, how it was coming into mainstream. And I think that was such a perfect time to start teaching how to make that a part of everyone's lives and how to make it fun and delicious. And just something that I absolutely love is recipe creation and teaching other people how to cook. So yeah, it felt like a pretty natural transition. So I started cooking classes just out of my home kitchen, and then that morphed into catering small events and wellness retreats. This is where I met you. Feels like I've known you forever, but I think it was only the start of this year that we started working together. So weird. Yeah, so, and then I've moved into kind of some online stuff as well. So, yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we touched a little bit on at the beginning about how that stop-start nature of, snap lockdowns and things like that. How do you reckon these past 18 months has affected you and the work that you do?
Well, in a big way. So when COVID hit last year, I was just about to sign a lease on a place to rent in Hawthorn, which was I was going to turn into Melbourne's first plant-based cooking school, plus a yoga and Pilates studio, which was kind of with my husband's background in physio, so more of a clinical yoga studio. And just before I was dragging my feet for some reason, and luckily the universe handed me a good enough reason in COVID. So I think with that came a big relief that I wasn't jumping into something I was unprepared for, and also that it was a terrible time. I think at the start we all thought that it was going to be a short-term thing, and it definitely hasn't been. So yeah, I quickly pivoted into some online offerings, which was an online membership where I put out cooking class videos for people, for the members, just to teach them ways to cook plant-based in lockdown, basically. And over this year, we've been lucky to have a few open months or open weeks where I can fit in a retreat with you, or a couple of classes from home, but it's kind of been few and far between. So I haven't really been able to rely on that, small event catering and the retreat catering as much as I'd like. And obviously also the cooking classes. So I'm doing a bit more online now, which is the only way forward, I think.
No, it's hard too, and that social connection is such a massive factor of mental health and well-being, and that spark and that joy that you get from being with people one-on-one. Screens are great and they're very helpful sometimes, but you just can't beat the face-to-face, can you?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I founded my business on, was that idea of connection and love and sharing food together, which has always been my expression of love. So it's been hard to take that really personal aspect out of it. And I've never been a phone person, so the screen thing is not my natural way of being.
Speaking of mental health, what's been your own experience with mental health?
I've always struggled with depression ever since I remember being an angsty teenager, with nothing much to be upset about but hormones. And there's always been this kind of, I don't know, I seem to veer towards sadness when I don't look after myself very well, which has become apparent, especially over the last couple of, or the last 18 months. I've had these, I guess, to borrow a term that I've really resonated with, the Corona coaster has got me good. So yeah, my experience of living with depression, and also which, you know, also morphed into anxiety and panic attacks in my late 20s, which I had to seek a bit of help for. So I have had lots of experience with anxiety and depression, which a lot of people have.
Yeah.
It's not probably spoken about enough and normalized enough. I do remember when I was working in nursing, and next to someone's name on a handover sheet, you always see what their past history is. And I think the majority of women that I saw had either a history of anxiety or depression or both. And it was just so apparent, but never spoken about and never brought up in anyone's like care plan or anything like that. There's definitely still some kind of a stigma around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been
Well,
my
thank you
experience.
for sharing. Firstly, I mean, it's not often an easy thing to talk about in our own experience, but as you said, there does definitely seem to be such a stigma around it still, even though, you know, and now more so than ever, people are struggling with it. You know, we see those rates to the helpline numbers, you know, going through the roof. They're seeing the highest amount of calls per day that they've ever seen, and yet still it's kind of this glossy surface that people seem to feel like they need to put on, and especially on social media, you know, that as we make the scroll, obviously it's the show reel, and we're not going around seeing other people's charts, seeing, you know, 10 other people already also have this thing that I feel like I have often, you know, it's like it can feel very isolated at a very isolating time. So yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
How often, I guess, how do you check in with yourself to notice, I guess, when you're going in through periods where that might feel a little bit more challenging, and how do you support yourself in those periods?
I was taught when I was getting treatment for these panic attacks and the anxiety, my psychologist, and this seems like such a simple thing to do, but she taught me how to check in with myself. So have this self-awareness of my inner landscape and how I was actually feeling, in terms of feeling in my body, you know, what thoughts were going on in my head. That's something I'd never been taught before, was just to simply ask, like, how do I actually feel today? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling nervous? Like, is there this sense of kind of impending doom, or, you know, is my heart racing? And this was geared more towards the panic attacks, but there was a big focus on, you know, what's actually going on in here, and how is that contributing to it as well? How is your mind contributing to how you're actually feeling? Um, so just having that self-awareness has been a big part of my mental health strategy, I guess. Always checking in on how I'm feeling, and sometimes I don't, and you know, the busyness of life gets in the way, and that's when I feel that kind of, there is that rising anxiety, when I have been out of touch with, you know, being in the present and being focused on, you know, the inner landscape.
Do you feel like there are certain signals or signs that you find may happen or may come about sometimes when you maybe haven't checked in with yourself for a little while, and you notice kind of you're on that trajectory?
Yeah, it's definitely the way I'm with my family. So I get quite short. I'll get, you know, really snappy for no apparent reason, or I'll just become really quiet. And I notice I'm so much more in my head, just ruminating on past conversations, or, you know, something that my husband said that I just can't get past, that doesn't really mean anything, but it's, you know, just getting stuck on those little things. And it's that kind of vicious cycle. So my husband's actually really good now. He picks me up on it. you know, like how are you actually feeling, because you aren't behaving like you're in a very good place right now. And he'll often tell me to, you know, go and do the things that make me feel good. Yeah, so
I find that helpful too personally, like in having those open conversations to say, hey, you know, when I do this, what's actually happening is this. So I just kind of, what's helpful for me is if we have a bit of a conversation, or if you do pull me up on it or say, hey, you know, I've noticed this, what's happening? And sometimes, you know, it is very helpful and you can say, hey, yeah, you're right. Other times, maybe not so much, depending on where you're at. You know, you
yeah.
can maybe get defensive a little bit, but then
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
often I find when, you know, I have that few breaths to come back around again, I can say like, hey, there was some truth in that. Maybe I do need to check in with myself here and
Yeah.
could be on to something. Mightn't always admit that to him, but
I'm definitely in the same boat there.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
never an easy conversation when you're, when he knows I'm in a fragile state already and he's pulling me up on, you know, behaviors or the, you know, my mood. And it's, it often gets a bit worse before it gets better, but there's always truth to it. And it's just about, checking back in and realizing like, what do I actually need to get back to normal?
Yeah, like and on that you mentioned a few things like you'll go and do a few things, or he'll say to you, go and do a few of the things that you know that you love or that help you. What are some of those things for you personally?
It's always been exercise. So if I haven't exercised, you know, whether that's going for a run or doing some yoga, it starts to affect my mood pretty quickly. So if I've gone to, you know, 2 or 3 days without exercise, people around me can definitely tell that things aren't quite right. So that's always been my medicine. Like I've never taken antidepressants because I've found a way to keep myself well, and that's regular exercise, it's eating really good food, and when I need to, having a little bit more quiet time. I'm naturally an introvert and a bit of a loner. I really do like my own space and time, but that's really hard with 2 kids who don't understand that. So yeah, I think giving me a little bit of time away from the chaos at home, just so I can do a meditation, or you know, sit with myself, read a book, whatever. That's really helpful for me because I naturally just do need that, my own space to re-energize.
Yeah, I hear you on that, especially on the long time. It's always a tricky one. I find I need to always work on that balance, you know, of knowing that I need alone time, but also in latter years realizing when it's too much alone time, and prioritizing social connections too, because sometimes it can go the other way. So it would be a lot more of a challenge, I reckon, with 2 little boys running around. Have you tried or tested, I guess, other modalities or, you know, different types of tools or techniques or practices and things along your journey so far, you know, that may have found really helpful at certain parts of your life, or others that really don't work for you?
I've tried a lot over the years, and you know, things, I've never had something that I just like flat out don't like and won't give it a go. You know, I tried a women's circle, which was so incredibly helpful, but scheduling wise, I just couldn't do it. So then I have had to rely on things that I can do myself, that I can be self-sufficient with, because it's not, I'm not always able to do those more scheduled activities with, you know, with other people. So for me, it's been really important for me to become self-sufficient in meditation. And for so long, I was trying it and struggling so hard with it. And then I tried guided meditations and yoga nidras, but I think especially with the environment at the moment, like the mental chatter was just was so much. I didn't feel that I was getting anything out of that regular meditation practice. And in recent times, I've done some Vedic meditation. I've just found that to be like such a game changer. In terms of just all I need is me. I don't need to rely on listening to someone. You know, it's quite structured in the way it is. So it's 20 minutes twice a day, and I've really enjoyed that, and it's felt quite effortless. And I've been searching for that for so long. And then, you know, there's yoga. I studied yoga, so I feel like myself. I can be quite self-sufficient in that if I need to, but you know, like it's great to be in an online class with other people as well, to have that sense of connection with a teacher that I know. But you know, in terms of other things, I have done a lot of talk therapy with psychologists as well, you know, when I really need it. And I find that to be so incredibly helpful to speak to professionals. I don't think enough of us do it, because I think there's this stigma that you have to be really unwell to justify going to a psychologist or a counsellor or, you know, a social worker or whoever. Yeah, I think those three things are my absolute pillars when it comes to mental health.
Yeah, I too, I second that point around the talk therapy. I would be absolutely lost if I didn't have my therapist. I think it's, like you said, I think a lot of people feel that you need to be almost at breaking point to go to someone like that, whereas, you know, at one point in my life that was probably the case, but now it's actually like a maintenance, or, you know, a preventative almost. Like it's just a kind of a check-in with someone external to you, that you can sometimes just get what's in your head out, and feel a little bit lighter for doing so. Yeah, I totally agree on that. Do you, in terms of your journey to date, what have you been most proud of, whether that's personally, professionally?
Sorry, breaking up a little bit. I heard proud of. I would have to say my two boys and the life that I've created here in Melbourne with Charlie. My boys are just this forever tormenting me with their loud noises. But I wouldn't have it any other way. They are two very special little men. And I, definitely most proud of them. They're my biggest teachers. Yeah.
I feel like I hear parents say that a lot, that the children, you know, they often reflect what you most need to learn in this life, and they're great of teachers that they can be. And I've met them firsthand, and I can say they're an absolute credit to you. You're obviously doing something right between you and Charlie, so incredible job. And I'm conscious of time. I know personally, we have often done in the past, we could stay and chat forever, and would love to do so. But I am conscious of you giving so much of your time to me today. So you know that I am such a massive fan of you, both personally and professionally. I just love everything that you do and you're about. And I would just love to share, I guess, how can people find out more about you and the work that you do?
I think the easiest thing is to probably just follow me over on Instagram. I've been a little quiet of late, just taking some time away from the social media beast, but I'm crawling my way back. I'm feeling a lot more creative, in a more creative mindset. So follow me over there, and you can keep on top of, you know, when classes come back online and all that kind of stuff as well. And any other, you know, retreats and catering gigs as well.
Cool. And last but not least, do you have an ask? Like, is there something that we can help you with or be of service to you in some way?
I think what I most need is to hear what people need and how I can help them with, with their lifestyle and cooking and, anything else like that. I think that's my biggest thing is if someone's struggling with not knowing what to cook or transitioning to more of a plant-based way of eating, I just would love to know how I can be of help, because just the kind of person I am, I need to be of service, and I haven't really felt very much of service in the last month or two. So yeah, I think that's my ask. Tell me how I can help you.
Yeah, so everyone slide on into Steph's DMs and hit her up. I can personally attest to the meal plan challenge that you did a few months ago. That was a game changer for me in my life and something I've definitely kept up. So I'm eternally grateful for you for that as I figure out my own plant-based lifestyle. And so thank you.
That was
And
honestly
I guess
the best feedback.
yes, no, honestly, it was a game big time. I've told everyone who'll listen since we finished, but thank you. Oh, we've got a question. Sorry. How do you feed your boys plant-based?
I just feed them what I'm really into. So a lot of the time, and especially because they're 3 and 5, they will not eat certain things. But it's, I find it's all about just constantly exposing them to different foods, and not getting upset when they don't eat it, but just, and just constant, just healthy snacks, lots of fruit, lots of veggies, and getting them involved in the kitchen, I think is the easiest way to do that with kids, is getting their buy-in. So, finding out what they want for dinner, or if they want something that's like a meat-based thing, like a burger or lasagna, then making a really yummy plant-based version of that, I find, has been the easiest thing.
Yeah, I love that. Getting them really involved in the process, and having it come from them too, as they feel part of it. It's not just something slapped on the plate like, we probably all had, and off you go.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. I should probably ask, are there any other questions? Does anyone else want to ask before we wrap up for today? Let's see.
I didn't actually ask. How are you doing, Ash?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, I feel today I'm about a 7. Yesterday I was probably a 4 or 5. And yeah, I've been riding the waves, and I think someone who likes to listen and check in with other people a lot. I struggle with hearing the stories that I'm hearing at the moment, even absolutely personally, things have been impacted business-wise and life-wise and all of that, and a bit homesick and things. But I find that on good days, I'm able to cope with that okay. And as an introvert, that time away from people can be helpful. But on the flip side, I really, really miss that human connection piece. That's something that I struggle with, and especially with the work that I do, that's what makes me feel of purpose, or gives me some meaning in this life. So that's hard, and hearing all of the stories and how much people are struggling at the moment really, really hits me hard. But yeah, today feels brighter. I woke up and took it easy on myself today, and thought how it is that I can be a little bit kinder, and rather than rushing to do a million things, just took it slow this morning. So feeling all the better for it. But today is a new day. Tomorrow will be a new day. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has definitely lit me up. I always find I leave feeling nourished after talking to you. So again, thank you so much. It hasn't felt like a chore at all. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you and share
I'm
all the
glad it
wonderful
doesn't feel like a chore.
I mean, that sounds a really nice way. No, honestly, I always leave with a cup full after chatting to you. So thank you, as always. Such a joy.
So good to see your face, Ash.
You too. You too. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
You too, darling. Bye.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.